Hi everyone, so if you're new here, I'm Damaris, and today I've got a very interesting interview to share with you. I spoke to Amirah, who runs a charity called Ditch the Rag, which is a reusable menstrual products charity. So rather than me going on and on, I'll just cut to the interview now. Okay, so we'll start now. So Amirah is a science teacher in West London, and she was finding herself buying tampons and pads for people in her class. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you crowdfunded, didn't you, to generate the capital to purchase reusable menstrual products? And then sort of Ditch the Rag was born from there. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I started using the menstrual cup when I was traveling, because I didn't want to take like the hordes and hordes and hordes of period products with me away. And then whilst I was using the menstrual cup, I was like, why on earth am I buying and spending so much money for the menstruators that I teach, when I could just, give them one menstrual cup or like a pack of pads and that be it for, the whole time literally they're at school.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that it kind of became obsolete to me in that moment when I actually started using reusables myself. But prior to that, I'd never used reusables, so I just thought it was the norm. I hadn't even heard of them. Well, actually, I had one. I say it, weird vegan friend, because at the time she was extra vegan, like used lemon slices for deodorant, no chemicals.
Wow.
Yeah, she was vegan through and through. She used a menstrual cup, but because of her kind of questionable other lifestyle habits, I thought that it wasn't something I could even consider. And then when I think it became the norm, I was like, hold on, she was absolutely bang on. I still won't use the lemon wedges as deodorant, but I fully support the menstrual cup. Fully.
Yes, that's completely fair enough. I think one's a little step too hippie and the others just make sense. Okay, that's brilliant. So the term period poverty was kind of new to me. Forgive my ignorance on this, but what does it actually mean?
So period poverty, as a definition, is the financial constraints that an individual will experience that makes them unable to afford period products. Now, we often think, when I first started Ditch the Rag, I got so many messages from people saying, oh my God, this is amazing. You're going to be carrying out this work in like Africa. And I'm like, no, it's a really big problem here in the UK.
Goodness.
But like we forget that so many people in England are still living below the poverty line. So it's basically where people are having to choose between food and period products. And school students in the UK, it's 1 in 10. Pre-pandemic, it's now 1 in 7. Well, we're still in the pandemic, that are struggling to afford period products.
Oh my goodness, that's awful.
Constraints. Yeah, it is. I'm not saying it's rife, but it is more common than we think. It's not as bad as, say, other countries like India. 1 in 10 can afford period products, so it's like the opposite.
Wow, really?
But, it's still an issue here. Yeah.
That makes sense, and it's a different kind of country to think about as well, isn't it? Like the amount of people that there are in India compared to here, that just shows, I don't know how much of a problem it is still here. And many of us sort of go along in our little bubbles and don't even think about that, but wow.
And it's the unexplained. As a teacher, I would see it quite often, like unexplained school absences, like girls or menstruators just wouldn't come in, and like we wouldn't really know why. But when you kind of piece it all together, sometimes those explanations are like they're on their period and they can't come into school because they don't have any products. And the way that schools were set up, now it's slightly different. Things have changed, but we used to have period products like locked in the medical room. So they would have to go down, ask for the key, and then ask for what they wanted. And for someone who's really introverted, shy, and like it's still a taboo subject. You're not going to go and tell a teacher like, I need to go and get period products. So I would just have a drawer and I'd show them where it was and they could go whenever. I wouldn't ask questions. I'd just say, take what you want. But they were taking whole boxes, and I was like, this is a very, very, very expensive thing for me to be doing.
Oh my goodness.
They're not cheap, and the school won't pay me back, obviously.
No, of course they wouldn't. Oh wow, that's crazy. I know a little about this, but what is the environmental impact of using disposable tampons and sanitary pads?
So disposable period products, things are changing. Although I was recently in America, not great for my carbon footprint, but they have no tampons that have the cardboard applicators. They are all plastic.
Right, okay. Oh my goodness.
So each time you're using a tampon, and they say some of them are trying to like greenwash and say, oh, these are made from recycled plastics, but it's like, how do we know? We're not going to, like, there's no evidence that we can go down their supply chain and see that these are actually
with something like that, if they don't go into full detail, you know that's just greenwashing, don't you?
Yeah, like how can we prove that? So each tampon, each applicator that is plastic, which doesn't biodegrade, is going to exist for hundreds of years, and then even then it's going to turn into microplastics. And then you have your disposable sanitary pads, which have their waterproof layer is plastic. So in a pack of tampons, they say there's around 3 to 4 plastic bags worth of plastic in there. So both of those, and the cotton, which is one of the most harmful products that we farm, with the dioxins, the pesticides, all the chemicals that go into that. There's a great tweet by Chrissy Teigen. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And she's like, not to be all hippy dippy and stuff, but she's like, it's the weirdest thing to me that we are sticking cotton up into our vaginas that's been and dyed. And I'm like, it's so true. It's not that hippy dippy to say, but yeah, like disposable period products are not only really unsanitary, but they're just so bad for the environment. Like, they do not biodegrade. They say that tampons are now the 5th most commonly washed up item on Britain's beaches.
Oh, the 5th. Wow, that's crazy.
I think it's even higher than the plastic straws, which are the reason turtles are dying.
It was that was sort of blown out of proportion quite a bit, wasn't it? Not saying that, saving the turtles isn't important, because of course it is, but I've read somewhere that the straws only make up like 1% of the plastic in the ocean.
Less.
Is it less though? It's less than that, but can you remember the outrage? I think it was a few years ago, wasn't it, about straws?
Yeah. Like, ditch the straw. Bars were being like boycotted for using plastic straws. And it's like, the most efficient way is to just cut down your fish consumption if you're really concerned about it.
Yeah, absolutely. But
although I do have metal straws.
Oh, do you? Yeah, so do I. I've got a collection of metal ones, and I just got a bamboo one that was gifted to me as well. So yeah, I've got people pick up on, isn't it? Like, it just makes me sort of think, like, all of the issues in the world, and then all of a sudden one thing takes off on the internet, and then everyone's in outrage about it. It makes me smile sometimes.
Yeah, it does. But I think sometimes that's like the wonderful thing about the internet. It's like, just like that, you can start a wildfire, basically.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we've discussed the environmental impact of using disposable period products, but I don't know much about this. What are the health issues with using the disposable period products? I guess we kind of touched on this to do with the cotton, didn't we? But
yeah, so with the disposable period products, so they say also to give you like a metric and understanding of how much waste is produced. They say around 45 double-decker buses of period plastic waste is produced each day. So 45 double-decker buses per day are produced. I don't understand how there's that much space in the world that we can produce this much plastic. But yeah, like, where does it go? Well, I mean, they have the garbage islands in the middle of the Atlantic and Pacific, but I mean, I've personally never been there.
No, I can't even imagine.
it's excessive, and that's in the UK. Like, God knows what's going on in other countries. But health benefits, so it's not only the dioxin, which is like a known carcinogen, and affects your menstrual cycles. A lot of women and menstruators who switch to the cup will say, my period pains have completely gone, they've completely changed, I'm so much more regular. And it is the chemicals inside those disposable period products. Health benefits in terms of the cup, it doesn't absorb all the moisture out of your vagina. It makes you less prone to infection, things like BV. Because when you put a tampon in, it just absorbs everything, like all the blood, all the good bacteria, messes with the natural pH. Whereas with the cup, it doesn't do that. And it's just, people think it's dirtier, like less sanitary. But actually just washing it in warm water and then reinserting it with clean hands is far better for your vagina than the disposable period products would be as well. And you're less likely to get the irritation. So a lot of menstruators, when they come to the workshop, say, but I can't wear pads because they give me rashes. But a lot of the time, the disposable period products, because they've got the plastic in them, and it doesn't actually absorb the blood is sitting there on that like waterproof layer, and that's irritating their skin. That gives them the rash. But when they use the reusable pads, which I actually have, here's one I made earlier, like the reusable pads, they're like cotton, so it's just like wearing a pair of knickers, and then you've got like the fleecy side underneath. So if you can wear knickers, you can wear these pads. This will not irritate you in any way. Like,
yeah, that's good. I've got a selection of like reusable cloth pads, some that my mum made, weirdly, but yeah, bless her. And I've got a cup as well. And I have to admit, I kind of lean towards using the cloth pads because I find them more comfortable. But this might just be because I've not found the right cup for me.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's quite possible. But I do remember when I used to use tampons, like years ago now, like they were really uncomfortable. I can I could, even if you sort of forget about the waste of it, I could never go back to those. I just think they're awful.
Yeah, a lot of women are horrified, like a bit traumatized, even though they've had children, about inserting things into their vagina because they've had such bad experiences with tampons. So like, there's no point me getting a cup because I won't do it. Like tampons I find absolutely excruciating, and I'm like, just try the cup, give it a go, and they're completely sold, like once they actually use it, because it's just not the same. Like the tampon is so abrasive when they put it in, it actually can cause like micro tears, which is why the risk of toxic shock is lower. It's not completely eradicated with a cup, because when you put in a tampon, you make those tears and they're like mini open wounds. Bacteria can get in there, multiply, and then you have toxic shock. But like, it's still rare when you use a tampon, but it's more likely with a tampon than with a cup because it's not abrasive.
Yeah, I can imagine that, because they're all sort of made from silicone or something like that, aren't they? And they're smooth, and you sort of rinse it and it's better if it's rinsed, isn't it, really? Anyway.
I mean, they say, so this is the cup, it's like really smooth, like soft. You can, if you're in like an emergency, say public toilet, they do say, or you're hiking, you can just pee and then put it back in, or just shake it and put it back in. But ideally, you would rinse it each time you use it. But again, it's not the end of the world if you don't rinse it each time you reinsert it, no.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I've been in a situation, I think it was camping actually, and you know, there's loads of people around, isn't there? So I didn't want to like tiptoe out and rinse it off. So I just put it back, emptied it, put it back in, and it was no problem. So
yeah, absolutely fine. They're flexible, they're fun, they're like women.
I love it. So I recently did a video on my channel about zero swaps that save money, and I did include like the menstrual products in there, like cloth pads and the reusable cups, because they do save a lot of money long term. But do you know how much money they save from using reusables rather than the disposables?
So they say in the lifespan of your cup or pads, which both will last 10 years if you look after them properly, it will be around £2,000.
Wow.
So average period is £138 a year. So that's about £11 a month. But the way they've calculated that is obviously an average. So we're talking pain relief, we're talking period pants, we're talking all the additional supplies, as well as just your basic tampon and pad or whatever products you use. So realistically, you would make your money back in buying them within the first 2 months. And we actually have a question we ask our attendees after they've done the workshop. It's about 6 months later, how much they've calculated that they've saved. And some people are like, I have no idea, but I've definitely noticed that I have more money each month, because some people have like 4 menstruators in the home and not having to buy 4 packs of pads, 4 packs of tampons.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
There's a lot of things. Yeah, they do say like with the cup, because there's no string, when you go to urinate, you don't have the soggy string, so you're not going to take it out and reinsert it, which is why I swear menstruators go through tampons like nobody's business, because you don't want to walk around with a soggy string.
No, that is so true. I forgot all about that.
Yeah,
that's horrible, isn't it? It's really uncomfortable. It's only when you're really stuck, like say you've forgotten, then you wouldn't change it, would you? But yeah, of course.
So they say it's about £2,000, but I think self-report from people who've attended workshops, we say like within 6 months, they say they've probably saved about £60. So I mean, it's probably about £120 per year. They say on average, a woman in the UK, or a menstruator in the UK, will spend around £5,000 on their periods, which is like a car.
Oh my goodness, that's so much money, isn't it?
I'd take the £5,000 cash, just use one of these.
Yeah, agreed. I'm with you on that, definitely. You're quite literally throwing money away, aren't you? It's mad.
Yeah.
So menstruation and vaginas just in general, they do seem quite a taboo subject, don't they? People get all funny about it. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think I was probably, I went to a girls' school. So it was never really something that was a taboo in my mind, because did you go to a girls' school? You went to a mixed school?
Mixed school for me, yeah.
So at a girls' school, girls around, it's just like, you know, when you're having a dinner party with girls, or like you're just around your friend's house, there is like no limits to the level of gore and detail.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like I didn't really process too much that, you know, it's something you shouldn't speak about with other girls, but when I was around boys, it wasn't something that I would talk about. I understood around boys it should be slightly hush hush. Sure. I had an older brother, and my dad used to buy my mum period products, so I always knew that like they knew about it, but it wasn't something that I used to speak about in detail the same as I did with my say female friends. But I think there was a really nice quote I heard when I went to like a period workshop once, and it was, periods are not a secret, but they should be private. So I really like that. It's like, you should be able to talk about your period, but no one needs to know everything, unless like you have that kind of relationship and you're gonna share in that sense, but they're not a secret. Like, people should know they exist. You can walk to the toilet holding a tampon, you can walk to the toilet holding a pad, but you don't need to show anyone your dirty pad or anything like that. Like, you're not on a secret mission.
That's fair.
So I think it's something that we should be able to talk about. I don't think it needs to go beyond, you know, what is a healthy and appropriate discussion. But half of the problem is the taboo. Like, girls not asking for pads, menstruators not asking for pads, is because they think it's embarrassing, or they think it's something that they shouldn't be talking about. And that is what then poses the danger and the threat of like infection, etc., because these individuals aren't asking for help. So they're then going to use unapproved methods to manage their periods, like toilet roll, dirty socks, rags, hence the name Ditch the Rag. So I think we do need to open up the discussion, but in an appropriate, we don't want to blow anyone's minds or blow anyone's heads off, in an appropriate, calm, concise, controlled way. Slowly.
Yes, I think that's absolutely fair. I think that's the perfect way to describe it. I've been around men in the past who get squeamish and weird about it, and that bothers me, because I think it's perfectly natural. You know, so in that case, if my son's ever curious, I always talk to him, tell him what it is, say it's fine, it's nothing to worry about, you know. So I don't want him to be like, oh, that's gross, I don't want to talk about that when he's older. I want him to accept it and know what it is. But yeah, he doesn't need to know the details in that case, but you know.
But I think it's that knowing what it is the most important thing, because so many women, I mean, I knew what a period was when I first started my period, but so many menstruators, their stories will be, I thought I was dying because I was bleeding. They were like, is this cancer? They knew what cancer was, but they didn't know what a period was.
Oh, bless them.
So I feel like it needs to be like, just the existence of a period surely should be like a basic understanding amongst
absolutely
everyone.
Yeah, that shocks me. I didn't realize that still happened now. I've heard stories of like my mum's generation, for example, where they've been scared to tell their parents because they didn't have that sort of open relationship with them. And that just makes me so sad that some children, teenagers, whatever, are having to deal with that. That's awful.
Yeah, they think they're dying because they don't know what a period is.
Oh yes. So your website is a charity. So how does it work if people buy reusable menstrual products from you, and how does the business run in general?
So when people buy the period products, so we actually sell cups and menstrual pads, and now really cool, don't know if you saw this on my story, the cup cleaners.
I did see that. Yes, that is really good.
The cutest colors as well. I'm so happy with them. So the way that you sterilize your cup usually would be in a pan or a bowl of boiling water for 3 minutes, but some people's other halves, family members can occasionally get a bit funny about the fact that you're boiling something that's been in your vagina in something they cook pasta with. But I mean, the boiling water kills all bacteria, so
of course, yeah,
there's actually no reason other than their own
mental problem with it.
That it would be an issue. So we now sell the cup sterilizers, which are like, I'm upset I don't have one with me. It's like a little flat pack silicone big cup, and you put your cup in there in the microwave for 3 minutes. But all the profits, so 100% of the profit will be used back into Ditch the Rag. So a pack like this, so this is what the workshop attendees get. So they attend the workshop, and then in the post they'll be sent one of these, which contains 2 pads and a menstrual cup, which does come in its cute little bag. And that will give a menstruator a hassle-free period for 10 years. So all the profits used from that will go in to be able to purchase and then post these packs to menstruators in need. And the cost of these packs, we say, to give like a metric, is £10 per pack. So this costs around, slightly over, but £10 per pack. So £10 will give 10 years of a hassle-free period for a woman who needs. And yeah, I mean, the feedback, to be honest, has been great. When I first started, I was like, is anyone going to get excited about period products? But after my first workshop, I had literally had girls coming up to me in the corridor like, Mir,
I would.
I can't wait to have my period. And they're like, these are so cute. And I'm like, I've literally made birch boxes for periods. Aww. And they are lapping it up. It made me so happy because I was really worried. I was like, I think periods are really cool and really fun.
Oh. And
these prints on these pads, I think are super cute, but are they? And they're like, I can't wait to put them in my knickers. And I'm like, yeah. It's epic.
That's amazing. I love it.
So yeah,
I love the patterns as well.
Yeah, it's, to be fair, it's done way more than I ever thought, because I initially thought like maybe I'll just do a little small something in the school I worked in, so long term it saves me money. But just the traction I've got for it, and the need, which is both upsetting but also exciting, because the potential for that shift to reusables and like the wider benefits are really exciting. So yeah, we've just carried on with it. But the business model is all based around getting those packs to the menstruators who need them. So if not only crowdfunding, because crowdfunding is great, but you get to a certain point where you're like, I have literally asked every single person I know if they'll give me money. They've also asked every single person they know to give me money. So it's like, I've tried to create a more like sustainable model where I can make money from the actual products I'm giving out. And it's like a buy one, give one. So if you buy one cup, we can donate one to someone in need, which I always think is like a nice little premise.
Yes, that's amazing. I love that. If I wasn't already set up, I would have bought something for you. I love the scheme. It's brilliant. So, I think I'm on to my last question. I'm just trying to keep the cat away from the microphone. She's just all over me right now. Oh, bless her.
She's loving it. She looks like a tiger.
Oh, she is. She's cute. Bless her. So, what are your biggest tips to those wanting to use reusable menstrual products, but they don't know where to start? Perhaps they're intimidated by it.
To be fair, I was most definitely intimidated by it. And I was so ill-informed, which is quite ironic now. I would say, one, research what's available. There is a great quiz on Put a Cup in It. I don't know if you follow them.
No, I don't think I do, actually.
They're really cool. So they're two women who literally, they write reviews on cups. They have quizzes. They've been on like NBC, which is like the news channel in America. Like they are hardcore cup gurus.
Love it.
So they have a quiz that you can literally go through. It's like multiple choice, and then it will give you the cup that they think would be most suited to you, your vagina, your cervix, your flow. I'd say choose the one that they recommend, and then actually sort of do some research. So we've got some great videos on Ditch the Rag, but there's YouTube, like the different folds, how to get set up. But I would say if you're intimidated at first, start with the pads, and then you'll see how liberating it is. Like I do make jokes every period. I'm like, look at me, not funding the patriarchy without buying period products. And you'll see, like, you'll start to save money, and then maybe try the cup. Yeah. But definitely stick with it, because it takes around 2 to 3 months for the cup, they say, to be fully integrated into your cycle. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. Some people take to it like a duck on water and they are completely converted, but other people have a bit of a tricky time with the folds, with leaking. So just sticking to it, be persistent, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. Like I do make jokes as well about, with cups, they don't need to pay for marketing, because if you know someone that uses a menstrual cup, they will tell you every single day that they use a menstrual cup.
Oh yes, definitely. It's like being a vegan.
Yeah, exactly. If someone's a vegan, they will tell you, and they'll tell you why.
Or so they say. Exactly. Yeah, but that is very similar actually. And I would completely agree with you. When I first tried the menstrual cup, I think it took me several months of practicing to get the hang of it, because it is very different to a tampon. Like it even sits lower, doesn't it? And the folds, I got confused by all the folds. So yeah, but once I did get the hang of it, it's like, oh, this is easy and this is great. You can leave it in for up to 12 hours. That's amazing.
And you get your full 12 hours, because they say that about tampons, you can leave them in for 8 hours. But realistically, if you're pushing on for 3, you need to start worrying.
Yes, that is very true.
It's a lie. But the cup, like you said, a lot of people push it all the way up like it's a tampon. It's completely different. It's a completely different shape. They have, I would almost say, completely different functions. Like it's literally there to collect your period blood, and your period blood only. So the way you insert it, the way that you clean it, etc. Now you do need to do some proper research before you, sign on to one of my workshops. You do need to do some proper research before you just get a cup, because otherwise you're just not going to use it. Yes,
that is quite true. Yeah. You need to know how to use it, what you should do to clean it. Yeah, that's all very important. You don't want to make yourself, give yourself an infection or something anyway, do you, for not doing it properly?
Yeah, exactly. Then you're back at square one. May as well have used tampons.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, that's all very useful. This is brilliant. Thank you. I think
Thank
that was
you
my
for
last
having me.
Oh, that's okay. It's been really lovely chatting to you, and you're so knowledgeable.
I mean, it's very niche and very niche, useful information. Like sometimes I'm like, my brain is just full of vagina facts. Which I mean, some people want to listen to, some people just don't care.
Oh, I can imagine that though.
Which I'm
Not
fine
for everyone.
with. Which I'm fine with.
Yeah, of course. Well, yes, that was excellent. I should go and make sure my son's okay now. So.
Oh yeah, he's been napping for a while. Thank you so much for having me. And if there's anything else you need from me,
yes, I will definitely let you know.
All right. Well, it was lovely to meet you. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
So there we have the interview. I hope you enjoyed it. I found it really interesting talking to Amirah and seeing how her business runs. So I'll leave links in the description box for Ditch the Rag website and any other resources that I think might be useful. Lastly, I just wanted to do the quote, which this week is, "The world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing." And this is an Albert Einstein quote. I'd never actually heard of this one before, but I thought, wow, isn't this such a powerful, thought-provoking one? I think one of the traits that I really hate is apathy. When people are apathetic, I don't understand that personally. So that's enough negativity, I think, but the quote definitely does make you think. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.